Good morning. Good morning. It's early morning here. Happy child. It's Thursday, right? Happy Thursday, family. How are you doing? I just felt the energy to kind of come and check in with you guys. It is Thursday. Goodness gracious. Listen, it is the moon is already shifting into Sag. Okay. Um we have this pull, let me get our smudge. We have this pull, this juxtaposition of I'm ready to move forward, but there is still lots of wisdom to be acclimated. We still have excuse me, is Neptune really leaning in, encouraging us to lean into that aneretic degree. It is beautiful. It's definitely beautiful to understand how we're moving forward, isn't it? And think about we've been talking about super convergence. We've been channeling a lot of things. But there's always this urge. There's definitely, I don't want to say an urge. It's like spirit, and the energy is just really encouraging us to not miss this point of integration. I know for me personally, and you may resonate with when we think about Gregorian timelines and counting years and numerology. I was just thinking about when Neptune went into Pisces and just what all that meant for me. Now it makes me want to verify. Yeah, it was. Okay, I wanted to make sure. It was 2011. And it's crazy to really reflect on, because when we're sitting in all of this deep water, when we're sitting in all of these, let me look at today's chart. Child, I know. How do I not have it pulled up? Thank you for being here, by the way. I appreciate you being a part of our soul family. If you want to resonate and connect with this space, click the like button if you receive something that activates you or parts of the message were helpful. Again, I really don't set the intention here for any type of monetization. It's just for soul family. We learn together. We roll through the seasons and the astrology together. I do personal readings. You're more than welcome to email me. As of yet, once again, I had someone ask me the other day. I don't have any kind of shop open right now. I have not really worked on my website. I do have some exams this week, so send me all the luck. I know I'll do great, right? We have to speak this positive affirmation. Woo! Shout out to you, girl. I do be having major anxiety when it comes to testing. But yeah, listen, we know that we have a lot of Sag. We do know that, yes, and we're thankful for it. Like I said, the moon is already shifting into, if you choose to work with banishing energies and you flow with the lunar cycle's energy, it's a great day to do spiritual hygiene. It's a great day to cleanse in any way. Maybe you cleanse with sound. That is very effective. Maybe you open your windows and you like to smudge, or you have sprays, or, you have your ritual and spiritual hygiene tools. I do make lots of those as well. I have a Facebook business page, if you find me there. If you're like looking for a place to go, I always get those messages. I do book readings with people there. But yeah, shout out. I do personal work. I've done that for a decade. I do tarot readings, I do astrology, I do teaching, I do intuitive work. So yes, but listen, this space here is just for us. In the age of Aquarius, you need to be well connected to your communities and the way that we connect in community, whether that's astral, spiritual, soul family, 5D, 3D, brick and mortar. Those are just as important, right? So listen, I'm just saying thanks for being here. If you subscribe and you want to be notified, I usually am always Sometimes we'll even print out the charts and we'll talk about the new moons and the full moons together. We just be flowing through the seasons over here, right? We love tarot. I have the Metamuse tarot out here. She was really calling to me this morning. Remember when I first got this deck, you guys? And I was, oh, it's such a good deck. You do have to go on Etsy. Sometimes they are sold out, and I'm not really sure. I haven't been to her shop in a while. But find the Metamuse tarot if you're into that. It is amazing. You know, I love sharing with you what tarot decks I like. But I was using that myself this morning. It was sometimes they just say, me, pick me from the shelf. What were we about to look at? Yeah, just to reiterate though, knowing that the moon is not void of course, and the moon is preparing to enter that, that new moon territory tomorrow. Yes. And we'll talk about that tomorrow for sure. But yeah, there's this background frequency, this bigger energy. You know, Neptune and Saturn, those are like gatekeeping. Those are, well, Neptune being the lord of karma and time and cycles and emotional maturity and a long-term sustainability. He is more like a gatekeeper, right? We kept channeling that phrase that's coming to mind, the dissolution of gates and keys. But Neptune, you know, that's that backdrop of occulted spirituality, wisdom, intuition, dreaming, the potentialities of all new timelines. Neptune is completing not only a cycle that began in 2011 in Pisces, right? And that's a great, like I said, I was working with my own reflection of really wrapping up with Neptune being in Pisces. And that time frame of it moving in there in 2011 and then 2012, I was like, holy shit, I had my huge awakening. Child, when I tell you, And then I found my teacher not long after that. And it's interesting just to reflect like, whoa, what a journey Neptune and Pisces has been. We still have lots of those trines being active for sure. Neptune in Pisces, trining Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio. That's an interesting reflection point if we return to the water, what the water really wants us to maybe liquidate, perhaps wash clean. There are two sides of the coin of what we might call like this water work, you know? I can't help but say water work and then think about waterworks and crying, but crying is a cathartic ritual of release. It's also a cut cord, child. Why are we tripping on our tongues trying to say cord cutting? There may be some cord cutting work to return to. Okay, the raven, when I sat him down, he's kind of tipped to his side. I don't like that. Perhaps Spirit is trying to bring some messages through. You're seeing ravens or crows or winged ones. It is a time to let your schedules really slow down. And we can't, you're hearing it through all of my cherished teachers, the energetic channelers that I love, the, Lee Harris, Molly McCord, Pam Gregory, Heather Ainsworth, Nightlight Astrology, all of the teachers, wherever you tap in, right? There is an energy of understanding the vision work that Sagittarius has to bring to us as we get closer to the new moon, closer to the winter solstice, right? But we will be wrapping up that 9-month placement as well with Black Moon Lilith and Scorpio. That's shadow work. That's your 8th house. That's dynamics of control, calling your power back to yourself, integrating your shadow, right? So yeah, we've got the, okay, yeah, you know what? Just the whole gang, to be honest, is pick a trine, any trine. They're dancing out there with Black Moon Lilith and Scorpio. I'm telling you. Jupiter in Cancer, trining Black Moon Lilith and Scorpio. Saturn in Pisces. Oh, no, that is a trine. Yeah. Trining Black Moon Lilith and Scorpio. Now, you're here. I like this because I'll tell you what, the Queen of Pentacles this morning, all but just straight flew right out of the deck. I mean, she really wanted to be seen. And so now when I'm looking at the chart, I see that in the midst of all these, because again, Neptune in Pisces, aneretic degree. Who's she trying in? You know, she's trying in Black Moon, Lilith, and Scorpio, okay? Goodness gracious. And then, of course, you know, Saturn is also trying in Jupiter. Neptune is also true. We have all of this energy. That's the boat, right? That's the boat, isn't it? For sure, yeah. And then when you look in the chart, whether you're looking at like a sort of ish, not really a full kite, it's kind of dissipated. But when you look at these triangles, if you were looking in the middle of the chart and trying to say, what do a lot of them, if you were sitting there getting in alignment, you know how we like to imagine that it's a pyramid. And when we are out on our eagle's perch, we say, where would that point be? That point keeps coming back for me to Pluto and Aquarius. So I love that you can glean so much wisdom from that placement in the middle. If you were on a boat and you were trying to align yourself with a star, Spirit is saying, and you were sitting in this boat with all this water, Sagittarius frequency would be there, which is more of the galactic center point, right? But then Pluto and Aquarius is there. It's that wisdom. That's Odin's eye saying, what have you sacrificed? Sacrifice also can look like detachment, right? And we've been talking about that a lot. So there's a lot of wisdom to still be gleaned. But again, the temptation really is taking the shadow energy of a lot of Sagittarius. We have a Sagittarius stellium. Here we go again. Would be to, let's just move really fast. Let's just spend more money. Let's plan another trip. Let's book another flight. And I'm not saying any of those things. That's beautiful Sagittarius frequency in the right place. But with Mars and Capricorn, it speaks to being more wise. More, let's evaluate the vision. Let's think about the long-term sustainability, because next year is going to be Jupiterian. It's going to be expansive. You don't want to be expanding from shadow. You want to be expanding from wisdom. You know what I'm saying? And alignment. So you really want to take advantage of this emotional healing that's available. So I don't want us to forget about that. It is very tempting, especially with pressures of a Gregorian calendar, to just keep on. Okay, great. Okay. Oh, whew, I'm so glad. Wow, that was really deep and crazy. Let's just go to a party now, you know. And then, you have credit card bills, and then you have the karma that will still continue to walk itself out as Saturn completes the last decan, right? Where are we at with that too? Saturn's still hanging out. 25 degrees. I'm just curious real quick. Let me just confirm, because we keep talking about it. Okay, yes, see, this is what I was saying. Saturn will be done with his journey. I mean, he's going to retrograde back, right? Hold on. Let me be more specific. I'm trying to get us a date, you guys. Yeah, Aquarius season. Okay, that's what I thought. Like I said, we will have some retrogrades still, but Saturn will fully re-enter Aries on February 13th, which will be an Aquarius season. We were saying Aquarius season, but I wanted to kind of pin that down and get more specific. So I'm saying, I think the major wisdom here is that we choose to work with everything that's really being presented to us right now. Because the downside of kind of spiritually bypassing in a Sagittarian, let's just party, let's just expand something else. Put that over there. I'm mutable, I'm flexible. We're just going to keep flowing forward. And there's beautiful aspects about that, but there's also a lot of wisdom in saying, hold on, there's a lot for me to learn about myself here. Right? Because there is a time for cutting cords. There is a time for understanding when toxicity needs to leave your life. There is a time, and we are in a huge time of endings, aren't we? But I think the deeper wisdom when we have all of this water, when we have all this eighth house work, when we have all this scorpionic frequency and all of these watery trines being activated, right? Emotional wisdom, the ability to let things liquidate out through Pisces, but then to dream of new realities and timelines. We ideally want to be looking at how we have learned lessons about ourselves. That's the most important thing to kind of alchemize, I want to say, right? So, yeah, and still encouraging you to embrace the quiet and stay balanced in that way, because we're never, probably not in your lifetime. It's going to be a long time before we have an amalgamation of energy like this, being in the boat of water like this. So yeah, it is super powerful, but sometimes that's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable when we don't have all the plans to distract us, when all you've been wishing for is rest and peace. And then, sometimes you get it. And then you're like, wow, there's some stuff that's really loud inside of me, but we want to utilize this time. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it is interesting. Uranus in opposition to Black Moon Lilith and Scorpio is really sticking out to me too in this chart, because Uranus is in Taurus. Uranus is still in retrograde. And it does make me think of how when the Queen of Pentacles just flew out this morning, is she, I know I've shuffled the deck already. Look, we're flipping it over. And the Hermit card is right there on the bottom of the deck, reminding us to call our power back and really understand the wisdom that has been placed in our lamps. We've been going through this season since October, even before in September. We kept talking about lanterns. We kept talking about light and keys and things of this nature, right? The Hermit card always makes me think of Hecate as well. Lighting in the darkness. You'd imagine him hiking. I think there's a deck. Is it the Astro Matrix Tarot? I know you guys have such a photographic memory, but he's like this old man figure, very like Dumbledore-esque, or he is, yeah, I shuffled her back in the deck. She shuffled in there. The Queen of Pentacles in this deck is such a nice card, though. Funny that we turned it over in the Hermits right there. Yeah, but in the Astro Matrix Tarot, he is like on a trail, and there's a cabin behind him, and he has a fire going, and it gives a lot of Hecate, which is because we are at a lot of crossroads, aren't we? And there's choice points, but they're bigger than some cycles that we would see. Of course, we have choice points in every cycle, right? Choice points in every year and every lunation, but these are big. I'm not surprised at all to see the Hermit there. I think it's really important to, it's like recharging, because so when I think about the Hermit being out on a trail, you know how like you have those lanterns and you like hand crank them, and it's something about like knowing what you need to recharge your batteries. And all of us are different, right? Some people feel really filled and recharged when they spend time with family or go out and be with friends. Some people socially recharge. Some people recharge a lot more in solitude. Some people recharge a lot more. I personally believe, right? This is Queen of Pentacles speaking to. This is also a Virgo Earth card. Recharging in nature. For sure, but just being mindful of your needs. I think all of us, regardless of how you're like, well, I recharge a lot when I go do this. It doesn't always recharge me when I'm alone. Or all of us really can benefit by saying, have I had the solitude that I need? This also makes me think about when I learn about cards, right? Where did I save this? Did I screenshot these to study later? Let's go see. Because I think I did. I love to, because I've been working with the collective body, I did, yes, of energy of the tarot for so long, you guys. I love to research and read about lots of alternative interpretations, more nuanced, more occulted interpretations, right, of cards. So the Queen of Pentacles flew out, and this earthy energy, this being alone, this getting grounded. Because I need you to understand too, Spirit is saying, like, we need to understand in a Jupiterian year, next year is going to be a 10 year, which is ultimately a 1 year. But you have the energy of not only the wheel, right, of fortune, okay? You also have the Fool, which is 0, and you have the Magician, which is 1. Of course, we will have the energy of the Horse. So there's no missing it at all that when springtime kicks in next year, we're going to be moving. We're going to be moving and shaking, and it's going to be time to pick up and go forward. We need to have solid plans. We need to know who the fuck we are. We need to be in alignment as much as possible that we have access to at the time. You know, it's not about perfection. It's about alignment and clarity of your intentions. But this earthy energy, Uranus and Taurus kind of saying, hey, I am here in the midst of all this water, and you may find me in unexpected places. But let me read to you, because I was screenshotting from this article. I thought it was really fascinating, and I love when I read about the card, and I'm like, wow, I've never heard it put like that before. And now I feel like the Queen of Pentacles needs to be on the table. Hold on, guys. I knew I should have left her out. I have my little, like, tarot card, little wooden stand. And sometimes when a card is really speaking to me, I'll leave her out so that her energy can just kind of be in my space for the day. Child, I should have known. You know, when your intuition be speaking to you, you'd be like, hold on, we're gonna get to her. Queen of Pentacles, where are you? Can't stress enough, once again, how good this deck is. The Metamuse is amazing. I know some of you also have it. The imagery is amazing. There she is. Look at there. There she is. Okay. So maybe this message is really resonating if you have earth placements, if you have Capricorn, right? Taurus, Virgo, in big places in your chart. Or sometimes, I'll tell you what, sometimes messages really speak to us when we have very little of the energetic archetype that's bringing the message forward. If we have very little of it, sometimes that energy will actually be speaking to us because we need it. And so we can set an intention to work with it. Perhaps you're like me and you're like, wow, I'm full of fire and air. I struggle to be grounded. Then sometimes the Hermit or the Virgo frequency or the Taurus, the fixed earth, could be speaking to you because you need additional grounding. But let me share with you, I really got to fix my camera stand because sometimes I want us to have more of like a view of the cards, you guys. But the camera stand is not cooperating. It's very cloudy. I think it's going to be a rainy, cold day here, but we don't have a lot of natural light. Forgive me if like the light goes low. But you see the cards. So let me read to you, because I thought it was super interesting, right? While the Queen of Pentacles is traditionally seen as the Earth Mother, nurturing, practical, financially stable, those are all things we need to be focused on right now too. Mind you, we are wrapping up a 9-year of Virgo year, the year that your house needed to really be gotten into order. And if a whole flood came through with all this water and washed a lot of shit, or a lot of shit floated up, right, that was good because it got your house in order. Or perhaps for some, right, it cleansed some shit out and you like, this house got to be completely demolished. That has come through in multiple times this year too. But it says, listen, there are several alternative and more nuanced interpretations that can change the tone of a reading. Here are some of the lesser known or alternative meanings. The sensualist, deep connection to the body. Beyond just being a homemaker, this card can represent a person who's deeply in tune with their physical senses. Because Spirit is kind of saying, like, all of these water trines, we keep talking about all this water, right? But the water is within you. We are, in fact, you know, incarnated into these vessels that are 50 to 70% water, you guys. a lot of your blood that circulates plasma, frequency, electromagnetic charge around this entire vessel that your soul is housed in is made of water. And water is the great alchemical current everywhere in the entire cosmos, whether it's frozen, whether it's plasmic, whether it's liquid, whether it's gaseous, right? So there's something here about being in your body, and that is way more spiritual sometimes than we give credit for. And in fact, actually, spirit, what I'm hearing is like, it's really important for us to understand this, because we're getting ready to enter a time, especially with Pluto and Aquarius continuing on throughout the decade, and then the next one, liquidation of frequencies to be redistributed in ways that we've never really known in our human experience as of yet. Which is a part of the ascension. It's nothing to stoke fear. It's just to be aware of what your intentions are. Also, Uranus and Taurus, hello, is speaking to us, because Uranus and Taurus will then next year go back to Uranus and Gemini. And then a lot of things in like an 8 to 9 year cycle are going to rapidly change. So you've got to be able to know that the ultimate divine, organic, not to be hijacked, not to be black magic spell worked, not to be inverted. Spirit is saying it like this. That is your embodiment. Yeah. So let me read. It says, beyond just being a homemaker, this card can represent a person who's deeply in tune with their physical senses. It may suggest a need to focus on pleasure and comfort, investing in high quality textiles, gourmet food, relaxing environment. But it's not like as a luxury, right? It's a form of spiritual grounding. For example, it makes me think of like, I'm hearing old money. It makes me think of how like you may look at a person and be judgmental of what they have and what they do, and they're in their home and they have these things. But mind you, maybe they invested in a quality vehicle that looks super flashy, but it's not. And it took them 10 years to pay that thing off. But it was such a smart investment that it'll last for another decade, right? You know how it's like, what am I seeing? It's like a Subaru or a Volvo, right? I mean, is it cheap? No, but I'm telling you what, that thing will fucking run through the apocalypse if you know how to take care of it, right? It's wise investment of resources. I hear it like this, which is long-term sustainability. But that also goes for your energy, because we're talking about water and embodiment and electromagnetics, and your energy is the highest form of your currency. So how are you investing that? That's just like looking at someone and saying, oh, you always wear a certain type of clothes. Okay, but you might not know that like literally their closet, they thrift a bunch of stuff, but when they go out, they have, these nice things that they wisely invested on, right? High quality textiles. They have certain things in their home, but these things will last for like decades because it was a wise investment. That's very Taurus. That's very earthy too. Mars and Capricorn coming through as well. Yeah. Because a lot of this water and the depth of it and the shadow of it and the intensity of it can sweep you away. And then the Sagittarius frequency and the shadow can have a tendency, Spirit is saying, to kind of like want you to bypass. It's shadow Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. Very blessed, very lucky, very fortunate. I've seen it time and time again because I'm very close to a Sag in my life. But, when we move into these next timelines, Spirit is saying that the energy is something of, Jupiter is not a picker of favorites. Jupiter will expand, but it's a matter of what are you expanding? And sometimes, again, that a lot of Sagittarius frequency is like a cheap thrill, a quick expansion. It wasn't very wise. There's going to be a karmic lesson from that, etc., etc. There's more about going higher and being wiser with both the Scorpionic frequency, where I see an eagle, and the Sagittarius frequency, is aiming higher with that very powerful Jupiterian. If you knew that you had, I'm seeing this coin and I'm thinking the Midas gold touch. If you knew that you had the ability to touch one thing and it would expand exponentially, would you be wise about that, right? Okay, so it's saying high quality textiles, gourmet food. I don't know, oh, I choose to invest in stones, or in my spiritual practice, I choose to invest in this. Is it, how will it sustain you in the long term? Something like this. It doesn't have to be about clothes and a house. That's just like saying, I don't choose to spend a ton of money on my food budget. But when I do, I'm very intentional. Things need to be organic. I choose to maybe not consume a lot of meat, for example, but when I do, it's going to be top tier. It's going to be local. It's going to be grass-fed organic. You know what I'm saying? Because that's long-term sustainability in your health, right? So this is more about spiritual grounding, the grounded embodiment of the wisdom that we're seeking in all this alchemy. Are you walking that out in your concrete reality in a long-term sustainable way? Because a lot of things, Uranus finishing out Taurus, right, with all of this water, it's going to be a lot of liquidation of jobs, of resources. We did this thing this way. What do you mean? I've had this career for 30 years. Okay, but everything's going to be changing. And especially on the backs of all of this that's going to happen in Aquarius season. Toward the end of Aquarius, more liquidation in Pisces season, and then boom, we're going to go into Aries season. And then Uranus is going to move into Gemini. And whoa, I'm telling you. Okay, so it says as a physical health note, this may be a prompt to re-inhabit your body through different movement, through massage, through alternative health techniques. Uranus and Taurus, very much alternative health techniques. Your health is your wealth. Mind you, you can be doing all this work. You can be setting up all of these convergence of timelines, and you're just like, man, I'm nailing it. I feel great. Okay, but if you're not taking care of your health, you know what I'm saying? All of that could be for naught. So this is an interesting thing to come through. Re-inhabiting the body in alternative ways, alternative movement, massage, sound healing, different therapeutic techniques, somatic movements. Maybe you're like, the way that I need to inhabit my body is to not bypass my mental health work. Maybe that's therapy. Maybe that, you know what I'm saying? It can be a combination of a lot. We don't oftentimes have to really make these huge declarations, but we do little things each day. That is also very Virgo. Mind you, Spirit is bringing up too, like we have a South Node karmic placement in Virgo as well that we've been working through most of this year, right? And we love to be, we do. It's beautiful. North Node in Pisces. We're realigning with the oneness of all divine source, and feeling re-inspired and connecting with our gifts intuitively, the clairs, all that. We love that. That's great. But it's not only that. When we made that agreement to have this amazing experience to incarnate into Earth School, that's a raw, that's a 3D, that's embodiment. The ultimate alchemy is when you see a lot of your spiritual work bringing you into alignment in your physical body, and then your manifestations in life, right? So it's not the escaping of those things, but it's the longevity, the wisdom, like the maturity of those things, right? And South Node in Virgo will say, you might have some things in your health routine, in your daily routine, in your work routine, right? That they gotta be detoxed out, because look, it's the vibe. A Taurus would look at you and tell you this shit ain't working, and it's not working. So let's do it different, because this ain't sustainable. We can't keep eating like this. We can't keep working like this. We gotta think about our physical embodiment, because it's balance and harmony, right? It's seeking that balance and harmony. Because if you're expanding into a Jupiterian year of the horse, you know what I'm saying? That's like, whoa, you about to hitch this horse up to what wagon? And it's missing 2 wheels off the back. And then we about to run full speed in Aries season. Uranus going to go into Gemini, and it's going to be like, the boat really hits off into like some whitewater rapids. Are you solid though? You know how we always talk about, I love my Shaolin masters. I love my warriors. I have a Mars fire placement, and I love a good warrior scenario. But the Shaolin masters, they are always teaching the students, and they talk about why you do these same formations every single. You've been doing these simple stances, these breathing techniques, these grounding foundational work since you were like 6 years old. But we do these because the master, he will teach you that even the most experienced warrior who's had many cycles, right? If his feet are not solidly grounded in his foundational work, even a young warrior can swiftly sweep his feet out from under him. I'm seeing something like this, yes? So we have to be grounded. They work on a lot of these grounding techniques, and how if your stance is not solid from the ground up, you know what I'm saying? And we're talking about shallow, we're talking about monks, very spiritual, mantras in the whole nine, very wise, but it's got to connect to this physical embodiment, or else what do you, it's just a hobby. It's just, unfortunately, a form of bypassing reality if it's not grounded. Do you get what I'm saying? So the next point says, fertility of ideas. The Queen of Pentacles, as much queens are, not just about literal pregnancy, but a gestation period of creative projects or business ventures. The energy requires steady physical work to manifest. Exactly. And then the next point said, the practical mystic. Unlike the high priestess who deals with the ethereal, and we have been dealing with that a lot this year, it is absolutely valid, but we're talking about balance here, okay? The Queen of Pentacles finds the divine in the ordinary. Magic in the mundane. She represents the kitchen witchery, or finding the sacredness in daily chores like gardening, cooking, or cleaning. This reminds me, because we read some excerpts. Again, maybe this book is for some because it keeps coming up. The Diamond Codex and the Quartz Key by the beautiful Magenta Pixie. She has a channel. She has other books. Now I'm going to tell you, this stuff will activate your Stargate galactic DNA. So you be ready if you get these books. That's all I'm going to say about that. But if you're here and you're seeing this for a reason. Okay, Pluto and Aquarius, Uranus and Gemini. You see these keys, the dissolution of gates and keys. You see the DNA. But listen, there's a whole excerpt where her guides are teaching her that if you're walking through everyday life ungrounded, you cannot activate this accelerated Stargate system in your genetic code, because it will be too much. It'll be ungrounded. You get what I'm saying? Even the guides in this book were speaking about this. It says resourcefulness. The Queen of Pentacles can make a little go a long way. That's going to be really important coming up, you guys. Just note that. Okay? But it always was. We just we went through some decades and some periods in our human experience where we just wanted to know what things were going to feel like. We have to be, resourcefulness is going to be huge, okay? Magic in the mundane and resourcefulness. They really speak to my heart, because I'm going to tell you what, I only got a little smidgen of Earth in my chart, friends, but it is my North Node, and it is Taurus. Of course, Spirit said, here, have some more fixed sign energy. So I really relate to resourcefulness and magic in the mundane. That is my North Node. And it's really important. Finding clever and practical solutions to problems rather than waiting for a miracle. Because sometimes the miracle, you feel me, it's wrapped in that thing. You know what I'm saying? I remember when I took a break and I did not do a thing for like almost a year. This was between 2021 and 2022. And life, was dark nighting, and it was, child. But listen, I remember when I came back to my path, I made a concrete decision, and this was like in the fall of 2022. I'm so blessed and fortunate. I rejoined my collective where we create and share tools together, and they were right there because they're amazing. Shout out if any of them are watching. My soul family, my collective, my sisterhood. They changed my life. I'm so thankful for them. We need each other in this age of Aquarius. But listen, when I came back, I made this big commitment that I was going to go out into the wild. I was going to touch things. I was going to feel things. And it's not that I hadn't always done that, you know what I'm saying? But it was like I recommitted that I wouldn't even make like the candles that I made, the oils that I made. It was going to be, if I couldn't work with what was local, organic, and wild, and going on trails and walking outside and letting the plants and the spirit of where I was, where my bare feet were on the soil, you know. I wanted to only work with that. Everything changed. I'm telling you, everything changed. And then it was this amazing magic of the mundane, resourcefulness of everything that's around me. I started to learn. And it's like I have all these books, you know, Southern folk magic and this, and the Cunningham books about the herbal lore and all the plant books. I have all of that. But I was touching it and seeing it right in front of me. You know, a local lavender field, or, you know, literally going out in the wild and finding rowan berries and juniper and cedar, and all, just learning your soul incarnated on a grid in a specific place, and just connecting to what was right there in your everyday life. Not to mention, child, I'm gonna go ahead and say that save you a bunch of money, okay? And you're sustaining other people who are in your local area. You're gonna need that. Make a note about that. You know what I mean? Like, who has eggs? Who has honey? I'm so blessed with friends who are up in the mountains, and they have herbs and plants, and I wasn't able to get into that as much this year. But you know, my friend will be like, "Hey, I'm clearing my garden for the fall," and I would ride out there, and oh my gosh, what a bounty! But it was right there, and it wasn't, let me click and drop this into my cart real fast. I mean, some things I have to order, you just can't help that. But yeah, it was powerful to learn about what was very practical and, in fact, very infused with magic, and how powerful it could be when, like, I really honed in and locked in on the resources that were right there around me. It changed the energy of everything that I was doing, I'm telling you. I think those were the two that really stood out to me. I thought it was interesting too. One of these archetypes that was talked about was the savvy solopreneur, right? Someone who has built a business, a spiritual practice, a creative endeavor, right? From the ground up, very self-made. But it's also about being able to manage things, being very efficient, being very grounded, being very practical, but there's so much magic. You see what I'm saying? When you start working with that type of frequency and you expand off of that type of frequency, is very powerful. You know what I'm saying? Let's see what else. What else, Spirit, does the Meta Muse Tarot have to say? What can we add to this message about grounding and about you know, the interconnectedness of ecology, and we are talking about, you know, it's interesting. I referenced this super convergence, and I shared this article, I think, on my Facebook business page, but we were channeling this collective message the other day. Let me read to you, because I just happen to have it still up on my screen. It says, Act 3, The Web of Life. While quantum physics and fractals show us the interconnectedness in abstract terms, ecology brings the story home to the living systems around us. Imagine a forest. The trees seem like individual entities, but beneath the soil, their roots are intertwined in a vast network, exchanging nutrients and even communicating through fungal connections. Scientists call this the wood wide web. I can easily nerd out on this so hard, you guys, because I am studying more in the medical field now, but long time ago, I was studying in environmental science and doing, you know, forest schools and stuff like this with the littles. But the forest is amazing. Uranus and Taurus is really speaking to us. I think there's so much to be taken in. There's so much to be taken in before Uranus moves into Gemini, because that energy is going to be hitting completely different. I'll continue. We got two cards here. I'll flip them over in a second. This web of life extends beyond forests to encompass entire ecosystems. Bees pollinate flowers. We channeled, I did the spirit of the bee teaching. That was this spring. Wow, I haven't thought about that. The bees were really coming through. I had the whole bee tarot and everything. If you guys were here, you remember that. Bees pollinate flowers, which feed animals, which fertilize the soil, which grows more plants. It's a delicate balance, a chain of interdependence where no species exists in isolation. This mirrors the Buddhist, okay, not the monks coming through, okay, because I'm reading from this article. This mirrors the Buddhist concept of inner being, the idea that all living beings are deeply connected, absolutely. It is a web of life. But they're using this term, the wood wide web, which I have heard before. It's a great term. But humanity, in its rush to dominate nature, often forgets this. We treat the planet as though we are separate from it. We do have karma. Karmic cycles are coming from that. We cannot reverse that. These choices have been made, by the way. We treat the planet as though we are separate from it, depleting resources and disrupting ecosystems. Science, however, reminds us that our fate is tied to the Earth's. Absolutely, she is a living sentient being, just like the sun and the moon. Harm done to the environment is harm done to ourselves, and so ecology invites us back to an ancient spiritual wisdom. To care for nature is to care for our own souls. So if you want to check out this article, I will share it for you guys, but I do love the website. It's called aluminum.com. It's excellent when you're wanting to read certain type of information. This article says it's by Casper Benjamin Remir Borkskov. Please forgive me, I'm probably butchering his name, but I'll share the article for you. It's amazing. But I just want to give him credit because there's these different chunks: the quantum veil, the patterns of life, the web of life, the mind unveiled, and then the reunion. It's an excellent read. It's not a very long one, so I would encourage that. But this earthy energy, this Uranus encouraging us in the midst of all of these heavy water trines, Sagittarius reaching us out for alignment, Pluto and Aquarius, right? But then being grounded and remembering this earthy energy as well. So that is so fascinating. What do we have here? Okay, we have 10 of Cups. Wow, we have the High Priestess. You know what this is giving, though? A lot of this energy, a very Piscean card here, a lot of this energy of the dissolution. The dissolution, you know, we feel the 10 of Cups up, and it is beautiful. We do have a culmination of dreams, a completion of cycles, but there's something here about not stagnating. The veil, beyond the veil, is calling you. There's something there about not stagnating in places that have made us very comfortable. Okay, it's something like this. Something, it's like spiritual wisdom could be trying to speak to us right now about sometimes emotional fulfillment is quiet. There's something, because this was like a peaceful spiritual grounding place, home and rest. We're going to need these things because a lot of timelines, once again, next year are going to be moving so fast. Okay, so there's something about going under the surface, not acting with haste. You know what I'm saying? Trusting your inner voice. What is emotional fulfillment really like? You could be considering domestic home life, you know, your family. Perhaps your intuition and the evolution of your spiritual work you've been doing. Maybe the whole time Neptune's been in Pisces. Or maybe it's woken you up more towards the end. Either way, these are both very watery cards too, very divine feminine cards. Sometimes the completion of a 10 of Cups could be because you are preparing to birth something new, right? Tens are completions of cycles, and it is fulfilling. But what are your dreams? How are they unfolding, and how does that connect you to your internal, like, spiritual world? This is kind of, this can also be as a cautionary interpretation. It can be, you guys, like, everything looked really good. we could really put this pretty family and this white picket fence and a family painting, and it would just be great. But your internal spiritual wisdom or your intuition is nudging you about something. A lot of times in our shadow work, when we see the Ten of Cups, it's almost like too much of a good thing. Or again, this whole spiritual bypassing. This could be that high frequency Sagittarius. We're all going to get together and we throw the holiday parties and everyone's going to come back together, and we're just going to pretend like my mom's not a narcissist, and we're just going to pretend like it's not. We can't. We're past the point of pretending. You know, this almost gives like the daughter who's the black sheep, you know what I mean, and is declining the invitations to go to the family gatherings where everybody's cups are filled and overflowing, and she's going to stay home and she's choosing herself for once. I don't know, I'm tapped into something like this. It's like not sacrificing the spiritual alignment, and I don't know. There's just a hint of like a caution with this Ten of Cups when I feel into it. You know what? This makes me think of one time I was doing this personal reading, right? And this card came out and we were talking about how she pointed it out. She was like, you know, when I looked at this card, I thought the woman in the picture had a blindfold on. And I was like, what? But if you glance at it, listen, if you just glance at it, don't it look like that? Are you blindfolded? Is there something unfolding, but you're trying to hide in a dream? I don't know. It's something like this. There is happiness, but perhaps it's found in some sign. Is like an inner mystery that's unfolding. But you're like, okay, something is challenging something you've been blind to. And this doesn't have to be, it's not like, you know, a husband and a wife and you're, it could be a different dynamic. It could be detaching again from a toxic family situation, breaking bonds that are unrealistic, like that we idealize people. It's like, I can't break this down, because when all of this dissolves and I rip, I don't know, that picture frame off the wall, like, okay, what then? I don't know. It gives like an elephant in the room, and everybody just keeps filling the cups, and the daughter who's the black sheep walks in for the holiday party, and everybody's like, ooh, wow, she's here. I mean, we haven't even seen her all year. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Just fill up your cup and we'll just maintain this whole appearance. Okay, but that puts blockages in our growth path. It's like a stagnant peace. I don't know, keeping the peace. A lot of these messages that I'm channeling have been coming out in personal readings too. It's not your job to keep the peace, by the way, if no one told you that today. I'm not saying we got to go, again, extremely shadow sag with it and say, well, I'll just go on full on chaos and I'll be my sarcastic self and I'm going to roast all of them. It's not that. That's not being spiritually wise. But sometimes when you understand that things don't, how do we say? Things don't align with the truth that you've worked so hard to reinstill in yourself, you have to be authentic. And sometimes that's just as simple as maybe you're in situations where you can't avoid and you go, I don't know, you know, you have kids, there's different things going on, love and light. We you know, I understand that because I've been in a lot of those different scenarios, but it's almost like you're worried about disappointing people, but they ain't even them people that what they look like when they're filling everyone's cup and when they put all the pictures out. It's like going to someone's house in the holidays and being like, you know good and damn well, this ain't even what, you know, people putting the pictures up. Oh, look at our holiday fun. And you're like, I know them in real life. You know what I'm talking about? Do not disrupt your own peace and ignore your authentic self and maintain these domestic weird appearances. When the elephant in the room, it's just got to be brought out, you know what I mean? But then we have to remember that before these two came out, right, we had these two. And this is just giving more like, I'm not even going to go. I'm going to be in my home. And again, I'll always reiterate, this is a hermit year, okay? We're not going to be doing this type of vibe forever, but there has to be a point for some of us, and for some paths, and for some karmic cycles to close, and for some wisdom to be alchemized, that you have to sit with some stuff. And throwing a 10 of cups on top of these cards is not, it feels fake, and we don't want to be doing that, okay? I really am vibing with the energy of this message that's coming through. I am going to close, though. I was working with the Green Witch Oracle a lot in personal readings, and I love this energy. It is simple. It's an adorable oracle deck, but I think it's so funny that I felt called, us sitting here reading about the wood wide web and all this earthy energy, Uranus and Taurus coming through, reminding us to stay grounded. And here we are pulling from the Green Witch Oracle. No, okay, thank you, Spirit. Thank you. Y'all listen, because you know what? You can't make it up. You can't. Look what we got. Tranquility. Tranquility. Okay? This is a candle burning. Makes me think of, sitting in the quiet of the Queen of Pentacles in this beautiful home. The High Priestess, behind the veil, lighting a candle. 43, 3 plus 4 is 7. Very, magical rituals, cleansing. Maybe these are different herbs that you're burning to cleanse and purify. Is this Pisces? Ooh, it's a lot of Pisces out. Interesting, but so much earth too. Okay, let's read. What is the message from Tranquility and Violet? Okay, it says, although you may have felt tested, okay. Although you may have felt tested recently, a period of advancement and breaking free is now open. Okay, but you see what I'm saying? But we don't want to throw a 10 of cups on top of that and be like, it's fine, we'll just go. We'll go to the holiday party. I don't know why. Maybe this is a very specific message for someone, but it's relatable. And you're like, well, the work holiday party and all these different things that pull on me from the Gregorian calendar. Because to be honest, during this time, maybe the winter solstice, wrapping up Saturnalia and whatnot back in the day, is like, we would have actually really been gearing towards getting really quiet. But of course, the Gregorian calendar places us in this time frame right after that window where we're supposed to be ramping up again. Throw a 10 of cups on it, fill up. Maybe you've set an intention to not drink. Right? Shadow Pisces energy, escaping reality through substance abuse, not just drinking, a lot of different things, but that's the most common one, and it's so socially accepted and even encouraged, which is terrible. I mean, again, I'm more in the medical health field now, and all of these insurance companies and all of these different teachings, which we knew, you know what I'm saying? But now it's coming out to us like, why are you still partaking in that? It's terrible for your body, but not the point. Listen, the point is like, you go to a function that's completely out of alignment. You know the things they're going to be doing there. Why you don't go? You choose tranquility instead, and that's emotional maturity. That's learning long-term sustainability. You know what? I'm not even going to go there because they're going to have an open bar. They do every year. Why would I go? I don't actually have to be there. Maybe or let's say you do have to be there because it's like your job or something. I don't know. There's some kind of message there, though, with escaping reality, substance abuse, shadow sag, shadow water. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Although you may have felt tested recently, a period of advancement and breaking free is now open. Adaptation may be necessary. However, a greater depth of meaning, loyalty, and truth is inspired by the appearance of violets. Secrets are safe, and those you hold closest are also afforded this protection. The truth will prevail, and that which is no longer wanted will be weakened. Be wary of intolerance, insensitivity to feelings of others, and blind faith. Magical correspondences, uses, purification, happiness, truth, death, and advancement. Yes. Deities, Zeus, Priapus. I don't know that. Attis, Aphrodite, Venus, celestial Venus, astrological sign Pisces. And then there's a tranquility spell where like you infuse water and oil with violets and lavender. Oh, this is interesting. I'm going to read it though because I like this. Tranquility spell. Craft a sweet tranquility calming oil to inspire peace. Mix together 6 violets, half cup of sweet almond oil, a teaspoon of rose oil, 4 drops of lavender essential oil. Decant into tiny vials or roller bottles or mix with water. Place in an area in nature that inspires calm for you. So you're infusing it. Use a few dabs, or you could even put it in like a bath, right? Someone may need to do their spiritual bath routine today to prepare for this powerful incoming new moon tomorrow in Sagittarius. All right, my friends, thank you so much as always for hanging out and tapping in with me today. I hope you do the work that you feel called to do by your spirit team and your guides, and prepare for this beautiful new moon. We'll tap in tomorrow and talk about it. So I love you guys. Thanks for being here. Take good care. I'll talk to you soon, okay? Bye.